Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who've kept us going for nearly 500 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames Podcast. Dude of the week is Lucas C. Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you, Lucas.
Been a dude for a couple of years now. Appreciate it.
And apparently been in every Platinum Games game somewhere.
Hell yeah.
There's always a Lucas.
There's always a Lucas. You know what? I wonder if the name Lucas
Is it Luca or
Luke,
Lucas? It is one or the other.
well, this one's Lucas.
Mhm.
Our dude's Lucas. But did it get more popular after Star Wars? Do you think there was like a lot of Gen X kids that were just like, they were named Luke?
See, the thing is like, I thought maybe, you know, because I knew a Luke growing up and
Yeah, I knew several. Yeah.
and it wasn't quite. I feel like depending on who you were talking to, it was either Star Wars or the Bible.
Yeah, that's
like
fair. I guess
the
Luke
Bible
would be
was
there.
like their sort of cover for like, no, I didn't name my kid after a movie. I named him after a book in the Bible. Like,
Is that better? No, I
like I said, it depends on who you ask.
no, I knew a kid named Luke growing up who hated Star Wars. He was like 10 or 11 years old, and he was just like, "It's not what I'm named after. I hate that."
Oh man, he became a YouTuber in the future and made lots of money off of hating Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like I was named after the Andrew in the Bible. I was like, it's kind of cooler to be named after a Jedi. I can't. But anyway, let's talk about cool rumors. So shit's still messed up in the world right now. There's not a lot of great news. There's a couple of leaks, Oblivion leaks. If you're interested in the Oblivion thing, like I am, that looks cool.
Apparently coming in a week too.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's great for a lot of Elder Scrolls fans, honestly.
Hold you over until they ever talk about 6 ever again.
Yeah, right. You know, as it is, you know, unrelated to everything, we did our top 10 consoles on the group stream, and we got Dreamcast to win. And I'm like, okay. And I told everyone, I was like, hey, if you're a longtime listener of this podcast, you already know where I'm going with this. Because my favorite was Dreamcast, right? If you remember that. And that won. We somehow got it to win, but we did it very intentionally through politicking, you know, and just sort of like
the best victory.
We snuck that in like an earmark on like a budget, you know, budget plan or a budget bill or something. But we got it. We got Dreamcast to win number 1. And everyone's, of course, most people are just throwing like losing their minds over this. You know, how could it not be PS2? I'm shocked at how many. I am shocked. And we're doing a personal top 10 list. It blows my mind how this one in particular is so. The anger is so ravenous because it didn't sell well, and I'm like, who cares? Like,
it's a personal.
What?
Well, but also the amount of people. I think when you guys did your Nintendo top 10, it might have been Nintendo top 10. I saw how ravenously angry people were.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was. It's a personal list.
Kenny was also doing a bit too, where he was trying to like stuff down, you know, my picks for Switch, you know, by screaming about sales matter, but like they really don't. So, which I always thought was kind of weird and dumb. It was a weird, like, I mean, I knew it was a bit, but it was also like a weird hill to die on, I should say. But anyways, yeah.
I mean, can't we think of a game that just did not sell well that Kenny loves?
Many. I'm sure we
several games.
Power Stone, duh. But
I wasn't going to say it out loud because I also like Power Stone.
Most people who've played Power Stone like Power Stone. You know, you like Power Stone when you play it, but not a lot of people played it. Hopefully next month that changes with the Capcom Fighting Collection too. So
unfortunately, no.
But you know, it's just like it's weird to me how many people justify. And it's like, oh, like this system is so much more important. Like, sure, of course. I mean, this was a silly list. It was a funny sort of example of how you little finger your way into getting your console at number one that you know is not number one.
And he's not talking about the Game of Thrones character. He's talking about a pinky in the butt called little fingering. Okay. No, I would have tried to get GameCube just because I think GameCube's the console that I enjoyed. Like I loved the PS2, but I think
Yeah.
I was thinking about it I was talking to my brother about it, and our collection of GameCube games holistically, I think is my favorite collection of games.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reason why the GameCube didn't even make top 10, the reason the GameCube didn't make the top 10 is the exact same reasons why Dreamcast probably shouldn't.
I mean, yeah, they're kind of the same console, and
yeah, like they have a lot of similarities. But at the same time, when you sit here and say to me, what is my personal favorite video game system? I'm like Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Like it's not about like how many. I'm not considering the library of the system. I'm certainly not considering sales or anything. I'm just like, well, what system do you have the most fondest memories of? Which one makes you like the happiest to think about? Dreamcast.
Okay.
And then it's like maybe N64 and GameCube and Switch at this point. Honestly, I Switch was like at the bottom, and I mean look, man, it's like if you really wanted to argue. If you were arguing truly best system, right, and you were going on, okay, well, what's in the library of the system? You have to put like Switch and PS2 and like DS at the top or something like that. Those are it kind of thing. And then you can argue maybe Super NES and PS1 or whatever. But
you also remember teens rule the internet.
Yeah, right.
They do. Like from the ages of like 12, 13 to 20, that is the demographic that rules the culture of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And their memories are pretty short. So, yeah, Switch is going to win.
Yeah,
because the Switch has been the
Switch and PS2. I get if we're just going from like just pure, here's a fun one, just sort of like a side. It got knocked off early, and I get it. Was I put up the Neo Geo Pocket Color? I'm like, small library, but think about it this way: that system pretty much has no bad games.
Because there were six. There were six games that they nailed all of them.
There's like 20 or 30 or something like that.
And they nailed all of them.
And they did, but think of the accomplishment that is. I'm like, okay, your system was around for a few years. It had about 20, 30 games come out for it, and they were all good. They were all varying degrees of good.
Tainted for me because I only knew one guy who had it besides you, but I didn't know you at the time, and he was a real douche. So I associated that system with douchebags for a very long time as a child. And I was like, maybe the games are good. I don't know. I never want one because they're
very good. It's really busy. It's just, if you ever think about ratio, what is the percentage of good games in the library? That one probably wins.
Okay.
Even over Virtual Boy with its
What's the best game on Neo Geo Pocket Color?
Oh, Capcom vs SNK.
Could you play Neo? Did they have like a link cord?
Yeah, they did.
That's crazy. What were why am I blanking? Okay. So you had the GameCube, or not the GameCube, the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. That was from like 89, right? That came out.
Yeah.
And Game Boy Color came around 98. So Game Boy was like it for 10 years.
Almost. I mean, the Game Gear gave its run for its money.
That's true.
There was the Lynx. The funny thing about the Atari Lynx is it actually did beat the Game Boy to the market, but it was more than double the price. And that also kind of killed the Game Gear. And this was a big argument for me on the original Game Boy. It was like, because it lasted so long and was supported for so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
By Nintendo alone. It's kind of like, yeah, well, here's the thing about the Game Boy is that it was cheap. It came out at sub 100. It was like $90.
It was $99 at launch. Yeah.
You get it. Well, I mean, I think it was 90 even. Like you could get it for 90 at launch for just the Game Boy.
The big reason we got one over, I think it was Game Gear. I think was the one. It was smaller. It was pocket-ish.
Yeah.
Like put it in like a backpack. It was much smaller than the Game Gear. Right? Because the
Game Gear was a brick,
probably twice the size. I when I'm picturing it in my head, I have kids' hands. And so I'm like, it was huge. It's like it's like, well, no, I guess now it would not be. But at the same time, in my brain, and the other thing was like Game Gear, if I remember correctly, and you can correct me on this because you've probably played it a lot more recently than I have. You basically had to keep that sucker plugged in. Like
For
that
Game
thing,
Gear?
yeah, that thing
Yeah.
had no battery life.
Game Gear had
Like,
no battery life. Neither did the
and
Nomad. And I have a Nomad. No battery
you have
life.
yeah. The original Game Boy, it wasn't amazing battery life, but it was pretty good. Like I remember being
It
able
was
like
much longer. You could get about
yeah,
you could get potentially a good 10 hours out of it.
right. Okay, yeah, it was I mean that's fantastic. Because it was only like 4 batteries.
Four
Yeah,
double A's.
four double A's. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that thing. But speaking of good portables, there's a rumor. We heard
Yeah.
rumors. We're not going to talk about all the terror the tariffs going on, because that's the same story. It's a will they, won't they of who's bending us over next. Uh, but we are going to talk about a rumor that you saw or heard, and now it's not necessarily that it's true or anything that we're going to talk about. We're just going to talk about the idea of it. Do you want to say? I don't remember exactly who it was that you saw the rumor.
The person goes by the name Kepler.
Oh, okay, right.
And this is a rumor, a complete rumor. We're not
It's
we're not
probably
gonna discuss like how the accuracy or the validity of this. We're not even gonna treat this as fact. We're going to speculate more on the general concept or idea presented here,
right.
which is this rumor started by Kepler on NeoGAF, was saying that in 2028, here's where the Sony will have a portable. Now, here's the thing: we all kind of know they're doing a portable, but the basis of this rumor is that the PS6 itself
Is
will
going to
be
be a hybrid console.
hybrid or portable console. And what this person Kepler adds to the rumor is that it's a 15-watt SoC on 3 nanometer. So
Compare that to the Switch 2, because that's
it's
what
better. It's better than the Switch 2 and more
beefy
expensive.
it's quite a bit beefier is the point.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's way more cutting edge and way more expensive and whatever. But again, this would not be commercially available until 2028 is the idea here. So and what this going on with rumors is, hey, is the PS6 going to be more powerful than the PS5? Is it going to be is this portable going to be able to play PS5 games? Like, no, it's a 15-watt SoC on 3 nanometer. So what we're gleaning from this basically is Sony is making a portable, a person stating a rumor that this is the PS6. Well, I don't know who's saying it's PS6, but someone is saying that like the portable system that Sony is developing is not as powerful as a PS5. And you can take the idea that this is the PS6 or not the PS6. That's kind of like
it's more fun if this is the PS6, because does it matter that it's as powerful as the PS5?
right.
No,
So that causes some people to
doesn't.
kind of freak out a little bit that Sony would actually be regressing in a way where it's like, okay, if they went with a portable device and it's not as powerful as their own current hardware, like
Okay.
the idea is like this is a step back, even if it is portable, even if it is hybrid. And I sit here and I say, well, if this is true, like let's just sort of like we're going down this rabbit hole of like, okay, say this is the PS6, like you said, and it is true. Does that basically mean we hit the limits of what we can achieve in the graphic arms race? Have graphics basically, I wouldn't even say graphics peaked, because if they did go this route, it is waving a white flag to better graphics, more powerful hardware, yada yada yada. But it's also kind of saying, I think, in a way, we've outpriced ourselves
Well, it
from
depends on what they
making
plan
better
to
looking
price
games.
this.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, right now this thing would be well over $1,000, like
Yeah.
well over. So, I'm sure they're hoping things will be different in 2028.
Name me one PS5 game that absolutely couldn't possibly run on anything but a PS5. I'm not trying to be shitty. I'm like, is there a PS5 game that could not possibly run in any way, shape, or form period on the PS4 Pro, say?
Maybe Demon's Souls, but it's also a remake of a PS3 game. I'm sure you could find a way
Okay.
to downscale it.
Yeah, all right. And then they're going to be like, oh, The Last of Us 2 remastered because of the upgraded in graphics and perform. Like, oh, okay. Remasters specifically made to, bump up to that level. I don't know if that counts, but even then,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that does count. But and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to like shit on the PS5. I want the PS5 to get taken advantage of if I own one. I
Yeah.
would love it if they take it. I'm just saying they haven't done anything. The reason this generation or this console generation has been sort of a dud in a lot of ways is because they haven't done anything with it yet, and we're
Yeah.
already nearly at the end of it. You
I
could
think
argue that that's not entirely their fault.
yeah,
And
but I mean, the most
to be
damning
fair,
thing of all to me is still the fact that two games in particular, two Sony games, God of War Ragnarok and Horizon 2 are on PS4.
right?
Horizon 2, which is arguably the best looking video game on the market right now. Like the only thing that is now the Burning Shores DLC was not on PS4. Burning
Right.
Shores was PS5 only. And when you see, because of the big last boss fight, you kind of go, okay, yeah, maybe this would choke the life out of a PS4. It
Right.
was actually kind of a moment like, yeah, I don't know if the PS4 could have done this in any way, shape, or form.
And if the PS6 handheld is more powerful than a PS4, you can still get stuff like that,
Yeah.
probably. Right.
Well, and here's the crazy thing is like, okay, we're about to launch the Switch 2, which is going to be, definitely less powerful than this hypothetical PS6, right? But it has Cyberpunk,
Right.
running in quality. It's got a performance mode running at 40, and apparently that's unfinished. Like they're saying that they're still going to make the performance better than 40 on the performance mode for Cyberpunk
Oh,
on
no.
Switch 2. And now remember, performance mode is running better than the PS4 did at launch. I mean, a little unfair, but like just saying.
What
Um
is this also? I mean, that's obviously taking advantage of DLSS and
I guess
stuff
we
like
don't know.
that.
We don't know. Well, apparently from the hands-on stuff, they're like it's not even really about because it has a bunch of DLSS in it. It's just better run, better optimized. But again, that's probably more of just how fucked that development for that PS4 version
Right.
was. But it is more powerful than the PS4. It is a better looking running game than the PS4 base one. Star Wars Outlaws, and people forget this was announced for the Switch 2. Star Wars Outlaws is going to be on Switch 2.
Hmm.
That game's not on PS4. That game is a very graphically intense game because it's from the Ubisoft team, Massive Entertainment. They did the Avatar game, which was also an extremely good looking game on a high end PC, like mind blowingly good looking game if you had the rig for it. And then they followed that up with a Star Wars game, which also very high end, not on PS4 at all. Can't run on PS4. Can't be on PS4, but it is
So
on Switch too.
what I guess my thought on it is it's okay that it's not going to be more powerful than a PS5, not because we've hit necessarily a plateau of cost or of graphic performance. We just haven't done anything yet that requires pushing those things. Those have become marketing, like, when we went from 2D to 3D gaming, it was because we sort of had run 2D into the ground. There were still great 2D games, but like 3D was a new evolution, right?
Yeah.
We haven't had necessarily an evolution like that where we ran something into the ground. Like you're going to get great looking, great performing games for a long time at this graphics level before you ever feel like,
Yeah.
okay, things are starting to look a little tired.
And I think
So it's
also
okay that it's a step back.
when I look at like, hey, what is a game that definitely couldn't be done on PS4? Yeah, sure, there is. When again let's say go back to Burning Shores. Now, what happens in Burning Shores is that there's like one of those mountain-sized robots with all like the big long,
Yeah.
bendy arms or whatever. That thing comes alive and comes out of the Hollywood Hills and like chases you down the Hollywood Hills into the river or I'm sorry the ocean river mouth, the delta, And there's all these other ruins around there, and it's like all this geometry is like is active and ongoing, and it's like, you're seeing something at this scale with this many objects and this much physics all happening at once. And the game, even the PS5 goes a little bit, at points with it, but
a tiny bit,
a little bit. But it's like, okay, well, the PS4 couldn't do that. It just couldn't. You just couldn't throw that much geometry at it or whatever. However, you probably could get something like it to happen through some smoke and mirrors.
right?
You could just do it, via a cinematic, and then it's just, okay, this is a cinematic of it coming alive and doing all this shit, and then you fight it in a sort of closed off, fogged off, environment at the bottom, and you have your boss fight with this big creature. There's ways to smoke and mirrors. It's mostly just the awakening of this. I don't know what they call it, a Titan or whatever. It's just the awakening in the movement of this Titan and the interaction it has with all the landscape as it's coming down, up out of the mountain and down the mountain, kind of thing.
Which is objectively cool that the PS5 can do that.
It is objectively cool, but it's also kind of one of those things that's like, that is objectively cool. It doesn't actually add anything to gameplay. And the big sort of like my poster child for like, okay, yes, this is a better looking game, there's more going on, is Spider-Man 2. It's a PS5 only game, and PC, of course. But okay, yes, it is a bigger New York. There is much more dense geometry. There's much more stuff going on at the street level. NPCs walking around, cars, physics, trees, all this jazz. There is more stuff, more detail, more AI, interactions with things, more liveliness.
Things loading much faster. Right?
Things load, yeah, right. So, however, do you think a game like Spider-Man 2 could not have been done on a PS4? And I'm going to argue it could have. You could have made the same game. Would it have looked as good? No. Would it have as much people walking around on the street? No. Would it have as much cars on the streets or as much interactivity, with like the leaves falling off trees or whatever? Probably not. But who cares? At the other end of that, because you're buying this $500 to $800 upgrade of a system, so that the people in cars and leaves falling on the ground in Spider-Man 2 that you never look at anyways is more detailed. I
understand that. Like, I understand why somebody would want that. They want the absolute max. It's the same reason people build $5,000 PCs when $1,000 PC will get you 99% of that. They want that last 1%, I'm not criticizing that. I'm just saying that, like, they haven't done enough within that within the PS5 console generation to justify a new graphical leap yet. Because, and here's what I really think the crux of it is. I think Microsoft and Sony in this case saw that Nintendo was making great games and making a profit on the consoles they were selling. And they're all like, well, we want that. We want that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the graphical leaps, for better or worse, have been purely marketing. Like, it's just marketing terms, done for marketing reasons more than anything. Like, it's got twice as good a graphics, however they want to, polygons or whatever.
Yeah.
But most of the time, those upgrades between generations, they're focused on like that for marketing reasons. You know what I mean? Like, when
people point it out too, and every time it gets brought up, it's true. It's like, you look at what Red Dead 2 accomplished graphically.
Yeah.
On the
amazing.
PS4, and it's like, how much of that has like happened on PS5 even?
I'm trying to think of and it's not that PS5 games look bad.
They don't, of course, yeah, but
they look great.
Just, I think a lot of people are kind of waiting for GTA 6 to be that sort of game. Everyone's kind of waiting for Rockstar, to sort of bring people into, the actual modern generation of hardware.
And they're going to be willing to pay $100 for that game.
Right. But what does that come with? Like you said, $100 price tag. It also comes with, over 1,000 developers working for over a decade. to
Of
make
the
to
of
make this game, which no one else can afford to do this.
Yeah. Okay, so the Switch, PS4, and the Xbox One or the Xbox One S X. What was the X? Was Xbox One? God, their names are so confusing for Xbox. Microsoft, get your shit together. Get all your shit, pack it up into a bag, get it together just once. But that generation, would you say that the Switch has the best library of games?
Right now.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
of PS4, because technically the Switch is the same generation as the PS4, right? Wouldn't it be?
I guess.
It's a weird intra generation console.
Right, because their Wii U was so short lived and kind of
Okay, well,
so
the Switch
floppy.
definitely has a better library than the PS5 overall right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's extensive. My point is that the Switch never tried to be a graphical powerhouse. It went purely for quality of like gameplay, quality of the games. Not to say that their games are all ugly. There's plenty of pretty games on the Switch.
Yeah.
It's just that like obviously you don't have to have, the graphical powerhouse, top of the line, pushing the limit. They look so real, to the point where maybe this actor needs to sue you, David Cage. Like it doesn't need to be that in order to have like great games. So I don't think like it doesn't bother me if the PS6 is a hybrid console and the launch lineup is looking good, or again, you have access to your backlog of games. I think it's probably a great idea. Do I think it is a total rip of Nintendo and it just further proves that what we've been saying, that Sony and Microsoft are out of ideas? Yes.
I mean, frankly, this would be nothing new for Sony.
Well, right. Yeah. Sony's been ripping Nintendo since day one. But
Pretty much. This company is practically a Xerox machine.
it makes me wonder though if all the next consoles are hybrid consoles. Are you going to have the media box? Like, is a PS6 hybrid console going to have like the Netflix app and all that stuff on it?
I
Because
don't see why
Nintendo
it
doesn't do it.
wouldn't. No, they don't. Well, they sometimes they dip their toe in and then they back out and stuff.
Because they don't want to profit share with anybody for any reason ever.
Right. I it's really going to depend on what, because Sony, like, just one way or another, I think we both agree Sony's getting back into portable gaming.
Yeah, no matter
One way or
what.
another. Whether it's is their next system or it's another, it's their another PSP Vita situation. I think they're definitely jumping back into the portable. I mean, Microsoft has openly said they are. There is no secret, there's no rumor. Phil has literally said, yes, we're making a handheld device. The only thing is that's rumored is like, in what form does it take? But they're all doing it. They're all jumping in here.
Yeah, and I mean they're going to be Steam Deck size, Rogue Ally size.
Here's the sort of problem both Sony and Microsoft. Well, Microsoft's doing it again, kind of. But Sony's actually willingly kind of like putting themselves in this weird position here where they're going to come in so goddamn late to the party for portable gaming. People, Sony's been there before. Feed has been dead for a long time, guys.
Yeah.
People have built their digital libraries on their Steam Decks and their Switches, or just portable PCs in general. Because whether it's the Lenovo Legion Go, the ROG Ally,
Right.
the Steam Deck, that's the Steam library. That is your PC game library, your Steam library, and your Switch library. And people have had those libraries. They've been building those libraries for 5 to 8 years. And it'll be like 10 years by the time Sony and Microsoft get in here. Like, again, if it's 2028 when, say, Sony's new portable or PS6, whatever, comes out, that is 11 years after the Switch came out. So the important part is, what does it play? Does it play a library of games you already own? Because if Sony doesn't do that, if it is not able to go in and say, take your PS4 library at in its near entirety, or a chunk of it and some of its PS5 library, if it doesn't do that, if it is a walled garden, if game you have to buy brand new games all over again or just start from scratch with a brand new Sony portable, they are dead in the water. They are dead at birth. They are a prom night dumpster baby. If they try to do this.
Oh, okay. At least it happened at exactly the half-hour mark, so YouTube probably won't catch that. God. So here's
Like
my problem.
there's just no universe in which that is a good idea. None.
I'm trying to think of like ways to make that happen. Like, okay, they come out with a new PSP, and it's not some big beefy, lap held console. They're not trying to do that. No, it's like an actual like, oh, it's PSP size, a little bit bigger than the original PSP or the Vita or whatever. Is streaming technology good enough where it's like, okay, yeah, you can buy handheld portable games for out and about, but when you're home on your internet or you have fast enough internet, you can stream, like your PS5 is on and you can stream PS5 games and PS5 quality.
I mean,
to
that's
your
probably
portable.
going to be where they're going to go. I honestly think that is probably their strategy right now because they've had actually a strange amount of success with that PlayStation Portal.
Right.
So
That's where my head was. I was like,
expanding the Portal to a sort of on-the-go device is probably where they're going. That's probably their idea. And they're like, if you have an internet connection somehow with, say, the PS6, you can connect to your PS5 libraries via streaming, and you can stream it on the internet. I imagine that's probably where they're going to try to go with it. But my question is, like, if you can't install those games and run them natively off, say, the hardware itself, they're in for a world of pain, or they're just
Right.
basically they're wasting money and time.
I am not sure. I don't have a lot of faith in any of the companies right now. Well, that's not fair. Nintendo has been Nintendo, and
Well, Nintendo
they
Switch,
keep
the
winning.
Switch 2 is already kind of weird because the whole library of that system for the first month is Mario Kart and a bunch of other third-party games. These are going to be good games, but they are all third-party games that have been available for months to years on other systems, including, hell, the Hogwarts is on Switch 1, albeit badly, but it exists on Switch 1.
That doesn't concern me so much with Nintendo because so many people that have Nintendo Switches, that's all they play. So there's a decent chance that a good proportion of Nintendo players haven't played those games.
I mean, it's a weird thing where it's like the launch library is great if you don't have these games or these systems.
And
launch library is kind of if you do.
And I think the vast majority of people that are going to buy this, they don't have those games. I'm actually fairly willing to bet because people who only own one console, they're more likely to own a Nintendo console right now.
I mean, just looking at the raw numbers, even with 60 million PS5 sold, that's less than half of the Switch's lifetime sales. So
yeah, it's like if you only own one of these three, you most likely only own a Switch.
Only own a Switch.
If you own two of them, you own something and a Switch. I bet you that this launch lineup rips. It rips for 60 million people. There's a lot of people who are just like, hell yeah, I've always wanted to play that. Couldn't play it on Switch, so I never got it. Nintendo in a lot of ways, and I have been plenty critical of Nintendo in the past. So this is as balanced as I think you're going to get from somebody saying something pro about Nintendo. They have done the last, let's say, 8 years very correct.
Yeah.
They've done the last 5 years extremely correct. I think they waited a long time to get to the Switch 2, but I also think that they did that correctly given the extreme melt up we had in the market, like the video game market, because of the pandemic.
I do think they probably wish they launched this last November.
Well, yeah, because of the tariffs and crap. Like, yeah.
There's part of me that's like, I'll bet you guys wish you launched this already, don't you?
But at the same time, given all the other problems that were going on, like they sort of the big three, they did it. They're making the right moves. It is so clear that Sony and Microsoft are just, I don't
They're
know,
reacting.
floundering. Yeah, they're like swimming in the dark, basically. They don't want to dive. They're just going to whatever lighthouse they can
Microsoft's in
see.
a real pickle here, because they're on a really good tear right now because this month is insane for Xbox. We have South of Midnight, we have Oblivion apparently next week, we have Expedition 33 on Game Pass,
Right.
we have Doom, The Dark Ages next month. We've had Indiana Jones for months.
Avowed was great.
Avowed was also really good in February. Microsoft's had a good year.
Yeah.
Microsoft's had a really good 6 months. I don't know if it's enough to turn them around or anything, but like
It'll sustain them. But
yeah,
that's the real problem is like, did Microsoft have such a good 6 months that it brought in brand new people that decided to get into gaming for the first time ever? Because they didn't convert anybody from from Sony. Nobody that
Yeah.
has a PS5 was all like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna get an Xbox because I'm gonna sell my PS5 and I'm gonna get an Xbox."
I have been hearing this though. A lot of people have been saying that Game Pass is starting to look a lot more attractive with the oncoming tariffs and stuff. I'm like, yeah, they're actually winning real hard right now because it's like all these games, they're all going to go up in price and I can't afford them. Or you could have Game Pass and you could just play them as they come out.
Game Pass has been the best deal in gaming for at least a year now. We've been saying it for at least a year now.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it if you don't like some of the game. I don't really like most of the games on the service. It's still a great deal though. Like, the deal is still good.
Is it going to remain that way? Well, no, it is definitely going to go the way of Netflix and HBO Max Plus.
Arguably already has, but
yeah, they're going to start raising the price too much. They're going to stop having the quality content that they've had to get you there. That's all going to happen because that's tech bro's going to tech bro. They're going to try and get a monopoly and then try to bend you over. That's like, I think that's their entire business school. You take a one-day class when you get to whatever company you're at.
But for the moment right now, I'm enjoying it. And if it gets too much or not worth it, I'll get rid of it. But for now, I'm actually really, I'm enjoying the benefits of it. I contemplate
next year, it's still gonna be the best deal in games.
I contemplate every day just getting rid of my PlayStation subscription. I don't know why I haven't, but it's like there's like a couple of games coming up where it's like, well, there are kind of online games and maybe I want to play them, and I have it on. I may only get it on PlayStation, whatever. I don't know. Either way, that's a little here or there. Microsoft's in a pickle though. Either way, just because they still don't have that sort of IP attachment,
right?
The way Sony does, and the fact is that they're putting their games on PlayStation also kind of like kills anyone's real interest in getting those games on Xbox. As well, but I mean, again, Marathon was announced and it's coming to Xbox as well. So, I mean, I don't know if you saw that. That was the other big thing that kind of happened over the last week was Marathon, and a lot of people, as some people said, some people are way too eager to root for the failure of something, which I give no fucks about the game. But like, yeah, come on, do we have to root for something to fail?
I was amped for it. I mean, I've told you in the past, like how I really want to see what's next. When they released the like gameplay trailer that was done by like, I guess, devs and stuff, not people that play games regularly, I guess.
There was like a short filmmaker who did it.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the cinematic trailer. I'm talking about the gameplay.
Gameplay. Okay.
That's the one I watched. The cinematic trailer is cool as hell. The gameplay only trailer, I mean, it looked slow. It looked bland. It looked 5 years out of date.
Like a Bungie game. I didn't say it.
Yeah,
you didn't hear that.
It's just. But then when you go and watch like the influencer trailer, the different influencers playing it and testing it, and like people who are streamers and play shooters stuff, it's way faster. It has all the hallmarks of a Bungie game. It looks way better. So when I tweeted like this was a mistake, I wasn't talking about the game. I was talking about the trailer specifically. And then I realized, like, oh, it looks like I'm shitting on it, but I'm not going to take it down because what I said was true. And when you speak the truth, you leave it, even if it's misinterpreted. So I understand people are like, oh, this is the next Concord. I don't think it's going to be that. And I hope it's not that because I want it to be good. I like the extraction shooter genre.
Well, here's my question: since you enjoy it a lot, because my takeaway was like, yeah, that looks like a Bungie game. It's got a lot of like bright, hot pink, hot green, hot hot yellow, whatever. But I'm like, yeah. It kind of got like this, kind of like almost like blinding art, art direction. But I'm like, yeah, it looks like a Bungie game. Looks like it plays like a Bungie game. Like, I've never bought a Bungie game. I've never bought any Halo. I've never bought any Destiny game. So it's just outside my wheelhouse.
Well, I didn't play Destiny. Well, I own Destiny, but I never played it because I got the bundle when I got my PS4.
So like, yeah, there that's an interesting, way. It just, I have this game because of I have GTA 5. I've never downloaded. I got it on like a free game thing, and I'm just never played it.
Now's the time. Prepare.
But either way, it's like to me, I'm like, okay, this just looks like a Bungie game. It looks outside my wheelhouse. I'm not excited, but I have to imagine if you're a Bungie fan, you got to be excited because this is what they're doing. But then Bungie's also not in people's best graces right now. I hear Destiny 2's not in a fantastic place at the moment.
Yeah, but Destiny 2's been going for so long.
Yeah.
Like I understand, like, okay, it's like saying like, yeah, WoW's not in such a great place right now. WoW fans aren't happy with
how
WoW
long's it been
right
since
now.
WoW was like a
Like,
runaways.
God,
WoW Classic people like that.
Games used to have like a 1-year life. We're like 10 years into some games, and people are like, yeah, it's in a bad spot right now. It's like, move on. Get a new game, please. Christ. I don't want to hear about WoW anymore. I don't want to hear and this is more of a personal thing because my brother has always been very into WoW. And he got back into WoW Classic when it can't, and he's just so amped. And so I got to hear the same stories about the same gameplay modes and the same. I'm never going to care. I'm never going to care. I don't want to. So when people are all like, yeah, Destiny 2 is in a bad spot right now, it's like, God, how old is Destiny? Just move on. It's like people still playing PUBG religiously. Like, move on, please. God, just new games are out there. Great games are out there. Such a personal bitch and moan fest there. I'm sorry.
Well, again, my original question though was like, when this game releases, is it too late to the party for the extraction shooter party for you to care?
For me, no, because I think that the extraction shooter hasn't actually been mined, and I do think that Bungie, there's stuff they could do. Are they going to do it? I don't know. But I think there is stuff that Bungie could do. Bungie makes clean arcadey shooters. If I mean, who knows? It comes out and it's crap. But from what I've seen so far, it looks like this is going to be a lot of the things that are easy to love about Bungie shooters. Until I play it, I won't know for sure, and so I'm reserving judgment on that. It could be crap, but right now I am still hyped. Is the genre of extraction shooter tired? No, I think that a lot of extraction shooters so far have sort of copied each other in terms of like pacing and stuff. This looks like it's going to be a much faster paced extraction shooter, whereas yes, other extraction shooters haven't been slow necessarily, but like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like in a Bungie game, camping is not necessarily going to be something that works out nearly as much because everything moves so fast. Like literally movement is faster in most Bungie shooters. You're running and gunning a lot. I don't know. Here's my problem with this is this comes out now. How long ago did they announce it?
Oh man, a couple of years ago or something at least.
At least a couple of years ago. Tarkov's probably the first extraction shooter I ever heard of. I never played much Tarkov.
Yeah.
I have it, but I didn't play a lot of it. really the only other big name extraction shooter I can think of is the COD version. DMZ, you know, it's like, and I played a lot of that, and I liked that for, you know, a lot of reasons. I'm sort of excited to see a faster paced, colorful, zany extraction shooter. So it still has me hyped. Is it behind the times? A little bit. A little bit. It doesn't necessarily mean that it won't, you know, revitalize or it won't be something new. Um, you know, it's like saying Halo 2 was behind the times, technically. I mean, technically, that type of shooter, first person shooter, had been around for a long time, but Halo 2 is still one of the best that's ever been done.
Yeah, Tarkov Hunt Showdown is also an extraction shooter, technically. But yeah, DMZ and Tarkov are like the big ones.
The two big ones, yeah. I mean, DMZ is still pretty good. I haven't played it in a while, but that's mostly because I got burnt out with how people play COD.
Yeah.
I'm just too old now. I'm not fast enough. I was playing with a guy who he quit out of the game. I don't know how long he had been playing it, but he was a random that got attached to our squad, and he just went, "These young bucks, fuck." Just like,
These young fucks, fuck what?
These young bucks, fuck. And then it was like this guy did like a jump into a slide and like killed him around a corner with, and it was like his shit just like, I just don't have the reflexes anymore, and I'm old, I'm tired. But whoever this guy was, just like he did some
you know, if it wasn't for the way YouTube's run now, we would have titled this episode "These Young Bucks Fuck."
Amazing. You know, and I also think there's just like, because we don't have the access to open chat anymore, the way people talk shit has just, it's gone to a different, weirder level.
You know what, though, with the greatest inventions, and it's still basically it's its own thing now, and I understand why Microsoft want to buy it, was party chat on the 360.
Yeah.
Greatest invention ever.
Amazing. It changed everything.
It's so good that they basically, with Discord, owes its existence to it.
To be fair, I loved open chat in Call of Duty 4.
Oh, I'm sure Phil did.
Because, well, me and DJ really.
Oh my god, you and DJ, because we'd win a match, and then I'd be like, hold on, and then like I'd literally see you guys leave the party chat, and then I'd see your microphone in the lobby start blah 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 blah, blah, like, you know, just blaring at the other team, and then your microphone would go away, and then you come back into party chat. All right, guys.
Yeah, and then they would be very mad, but I wouldn't have to hear them. It was terrible. Especially DJ.
It was just like watching you guys go in and like just talk crap on people.
Yeah, and at the time I thought that was very funny because I was what? A teenager. You see, teenagers, they own the internet. You got to just treat them like feral cats.
I mean, you did this in real life on your 21st birthday.
Yes, I did.
You talked shit to a kid in an arcade.
To be fair, it was an arcade in Vegas, and I was very drunk. I
mean, the funny thing was too is like, it was at night. It was at like 10 o'clock at night or something.
Yeah, we were at GameWorks in Vegas,
and then you were drunk, and you told some kid his shit's weak, son.
Yeah,
after you and Jay beat him in Outrun 2.
Yeah. And it was like the crazy Outrun that had like the full cars that you sit in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people know this, but Outrun 2 had a linked cabinet, you know, like Daytona, but they had this one that was 2-seater because it's Outrun. Every Outrun's a 2-seater, and it was a simulated motion cabinet, and there were like 4 or 6 of them in a row. And you were in Jay's convertible, and I forget who else was all racing, but there was one kid who was racing against the rest of your 21 birthday party crew,
and his dad,
and his dad. That's right, and his
dad was there, and we were talking some trash. I was talking a lot of trash. It was pretty messed up. If I was that kid's father, I would have hit me. Like we were, and I mean, like it was over the top. We were screaming, we were yelling. To be fair, kid kept his cool.
He did.
I
witnessed cool thing. He did keep his cool, which was very.
But his shit was very weak. Okay, he did lose very hard. He thought he was going to win. There was a part where he thought he was going to win, and he was all smiles, and he thought like, "Oh, I got this in the bag." And then we took him and we dog walked him, and his shit was weak. And I let him know his shit was weak, and I hope that that was a character moment for him. And then he grew up, and now he's like, I don't know, a congressperson, and he was like, my shit will never be weak again. He's like that guy.
Maybe the next Mr. Universe or something.
That guy made me realize that I'm terrible at driving games. I was the passenger.
You were the passenger. You were the drunk, angry blonde chick.
I was. I had a beer. I had a beer in my hand. I was riding in this car. Justin did a lot of racing. Actually, a good driver of real cars. I don't know necessarily that he's good in games, driving games, but he beat a 12-year-old, and that was what was important that night. So there you go. That's your YoVideogames lore of. For people who don't know, we used to do these game nights. There was like, I don't know, 20 of us. YoVideogames, Max once said, was like it was that digitally. We used to meet every Thursday for years. We would all show up at Justin's house, and that was like the inspiration of the idea of YoVideogames for like streaming, right? And I was like, well, you got to have 20 people on 3 different screens in the background while you guys try to do your stream, and everyone's screaming at each other about different game. That's how you get the YoVideogames experience. That's how you get that game night experience, of
true game night experience.
3 people playing Risk in between 2 TVs where they're playing like fighting games. It's just Kenny and Max playing fighting games on one TV screen, and someone playing COD on another one, but they don't have their headphones in, so you just hear everyone screaming in the lobby. That's the experience. It's very angry. I was the one playing Risk. It was me and Dan playing Risk. There's your YoVideogames lore for the inspiration was game nights in too small of an apartment, and someone would always order pizza with lots of garlic on it.
I do remember that.
A tiny apartment with garlic and anger. So there you go. That's
It's like a hard-boiled detective novel.
the next time you're watching YoVideogames stream, order an extra garlic pizza and just get your closest friend to play something else behind you screaming. And now you have the true experience. Be a connoisseur of the YoVideogames experience. Well, that'll be something that's the PS5 is good for, or the PS6 will be good for, is everyone will be able to meet up and scream at each other in person.
That's true. Yeah. So, I mean, getting back to what do these companies do? I say, and I've said this before, what does Microsoft do to make to entice anyone to get a portable Xbox, right? An X-boy, if you will. One, I don't even know why they're even bothering when I feel like they already have a partnership going, and might as well just keep it going. But for me, it's just put Steam on it, right? So here's my thing: is like if Microsoft wants to, for some reason, compete with the Steam Deck, ally market, just make it open. And I think this is the rumor. The rumor is that it is a Windows 11 based OS, right? Which sucks, but just let Steam Deck run on it. Don't make it like a Switch where it's just the Switch in the eShop, right? Microsoft's best move they can make is letting you install Steam on it. It's their best move. It's pretty much the only move they've got left.
I don't know. I don't know that they'll be able to, specifically for a portable. I don't know that they'll be able to do that.
Because, well, think of it this way: even if it was like, hey, it accesses your Xbox library, like like a Series S, or an Xbox One, and it accesses all those digital libraries against. There's not enough of that. There's not enough people who've built up a big enough library on Xbox One and Series X and X.
Now I
to
have an
make
idea.
that worth it. So I'm like, you put Steam, make Steam Deck installable on it.
You bundle 1 year of Game Pass with the X-Boy.
bro, they literally bundle it with the ROG.
Yeah, so stop doing that with the ROG and bundle one year of Game Pass on the X-Boy.
Sure, but you should also have Steam. Steam should also be part of it.
I just don't think Steam will go for that.
I mean,
Like,
here's the thing: they
it's
don't
just
even
undercutting themselves.
they don't even have to. All they have to do is make it a Windows 11 based architecture and let you install it. Let you install the Steam launcher on it. That's all they really have to do.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Phil.
To me, that's the play. Now, in a sense, I'm like, then it's not really a Game Boy. It's not really an X Boy. It's just
a portable PC.
It's just a portable PC. But I'm like,
laptop with joysticks.
True, but the only thing they really need to do to take from what they should take from Steam Deck that the ROG doesn't do, because the ROG is a portable PC, is have a big picture mode sort of like standard on the thing. You know, where it's like have a very easy to understand thing. And then there's an option. You go into the settings and go, would you like to load into the OS? Yes. And then I will go in there and download Steam and launch it, whatever. But make it sort of like a sort of like optional thing that like, yes, people can do this, but we're kind of just we'll just like, yeah, you can do that. But you know, we try to make it like really big and bubbly and easy and simple for people to just it boots up the Xbox game store or the Windows store or whatever.
If PlayStation 6 is this hybrid home console thing, do you think they just keep selling PS5s for an extended period of time?
Yeah,
Like
I don't see why not.
time. They just
I mean, if anything, they have a good reason now to start selling, you know, the PS5 Pro longer, right? Because they say they're even updating the pisser on it to be even better and possibly put pisser in the PS5 vanilla. I don't know if you've heard about that stuff.
Someone's gonna piss her in my vanilla.
Yeah, they're gonna piss her all over your vanilla.
Gross.
But yeah, like I think the PS5 Pro is the most worthless upgrade of a system we've seen yet. I've seen more worthless peripherals. Don't get me wrong. The PlayStation VR 2,
also owned by PlayStation. So I guess,
but I mean that's a peripheral system with a different library. I mean, here's a absolutely worthless upgrade. Maybe the argue like the Switch OLED too, but they weren't trying to tell you it was a better system. They were just saying it's a system with a cooler screen. That's it.
Yeah,
we call it the OLED model, like a system that is like this will run games better. This will have like this will exclusively make games better. And yeah, I don't know. Like the PS5 Pro to me is almost insulting. Like it shouldn't be. That's maybe, you know, a little hyperbole, a little going a bit far. But I'm like, as a day one launch PS5 owner, it's insulting to me that they're trying to sell me an $800 upgrade for a system that has pretty much no real exclusives. And I have a gaming capable PC. You have what do you have, a 4090?
I have a 3090.
You have a 3090. I have a 3090. We have very capable PCs, right? So
yeah.
What I'm getting at here is that if I wanted to play PlayStation 5 Sony first party games in really high fidelity, I have a PC that can do it, and they sell it to me on PC, right?
Mm-hmm.
The idea that, hey, you should get a PS5 Pro because of our pisser technology or whatever. And I'm like, motherfucker, you have not even convinced me that my PlayStation 5 was a necessity, let alone a Pro. And then I have a gaming rig PC, which you also accommodate. Why are you telling me I need to spend $800 on a PS5 Pro for fucking what?
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, they planned it years ago, and it's a slow motion car crash where they knew it wasn't gonna be the best idea to release it.
I feel like the VR2 was even more so the slow motion.
The VR2 is tragic in a lot of ways. Like,
because it's actually a very good VR headset.
Yeah,
from a VR technology standpoint, OLED screens with a really high refresh rate and everything, and
it's one of those things where it's like, do you remember 3D movies? For the longest time, people kept saying, like, no, it's the future. It's the future. Just get used to it. It's the future.
And I remember sitting there thinking, like, you're going to ask people to, no, I'm like, this is going to crash and burn. Which, if you need glasses to wear this shit, it's going to crash and burn.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like it's a cool idea, but it's always going to be niche. VR right now, that's where it feels like it's like, yeah, VR is a cool idea, but like right now, it just feels like it's always going to be niche because it's not that accessible. It's just there's just access is like the thing, and
Yeah.
that's why I do believe this rumor of like they're gonna come back off of power to make something portable and affordable ish, because right now it sounds like it would be really expensive.
Yeah,
But,
well, the affordability parts are going to be the real question mark going forward.
well, what I think is like they're going to try and keep to that $500 range. They're not going to try and push it over, because $500 consoles is, we're getting to a point here where there's no way the market doesn't shrink because of the tariffs, but we're also at a point where expenses, gaming, yeah, hour for hour is still cheaper than most other entertainments. But
Thing is, I think they should be really afraid of people. They're going to scare people into running back into their old free to play games that they've been playing for decades,
they
years.
don't have to scare people. That shit's still dominant to a level that I don't think, what they're really going to do is make more and more people turn to it and just stay there rather than even pick their, like, how many people play Fortnite that haven't looked up in a couple of years to see what's new? Like, how many people didn't even know there's a Switch 2 coming because all they play is Fortnite? I wonder. I don't know. I mean, I know that's hyperbolic, but it's still like, I wonder.
I mean,
But
at the
any
end of the day,
final thought?
Minecraft and Fortnite and whatever, they're just going to scare people to go back to these games that they
Yeah.
already play for free, or they spend a couple bucks a month on. I spend like $10 a month here, $15 a month on this game. That's my game. My gaming expenses, I spend about $10, 10 to 15 a month on Fortnite, and that is the entirety of a person's gaming expenditure.
Now, I'm not saying quote me, but I'm just saying right now, no matter what, we are going to see a contraction in the video game market. I think we're going to see a lot of developers shutter because publishers,
More than we already have.
yeah, because right now publishers are closing developers. I think we're going to see developers just generally, I think there's not going to be enough dollars or like enough market to support the explosion that we've seen over the last several years.
Hmm.
Let's say the last decade.
Hmm.
And you're going to see a contraction, a video game recession, if you will. That's my theory.
I think when games do go to the $80 mark starting in June, I guess, with Mario Kart, I also think we're just going to see a lot of people just kind of like, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah, they're going to opt out.
It's not even like I'm going to opt, not even opting out of, hey, I just won't buy that game. They're going to just opt out of video games. They're like, this hobby's too expensive now, and they're going to go find something else to do.
Or they'll just stay back on their older system for an extended period of
Or
time.
yeah, or exactly that. Yeah, I'll just go back there. I mean, it's we haven't talked about it on this podcast much, but it's the problem of Smash Brothers is going to have
Mhm.
for the next one, where it's like, okay, here's new Smash Brothers. It's $80 to start. It has half the characters of Ultimate. You know what? I'm just going to go play Ultimate.
Well, one thing to remember is like in the GameCube era, a lot of people, hell, in the 360 era, a lot of people I knew got maybe 2, 3 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like a year, 3 games. Like they'd get their one multiplayer game, COD 4, say,
Yeah.
and then they'd get like 1 or 2 other games, like a sports game, a lot of them would get, and then like a big name
Right.
single player, whatever. Uh, in the last like 5 years, I think the average, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 1 a month. People will buy on average at least one
Mhm.
game a month. That's
Right.
insane. That's 4 times the average it used to be. So I think we're going to see a shrink. I think we're going to
Yeah.
see a contraction. I don't know.
Well, I mean, again, they're going to have to raise the prices, but the prices is just going to everything in the world is going to go up. Everything's
Yeah.
going to jump in price. So people,
No.
gaming's a luxury. It's a luxury, but you know what? At least we'll be here to tell you, for all the people who haven't ventured into Game Pass or whatever, if something, because I feel bad when you sing because I agree with you. I think you're 100% right. But man, there were a lot of good games that came out this year.
Yeah.
Split Fiction and Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii and South of Midnight, Monster Hunter Wilds, even man, we've had some Xenoblade X Definitive. We've had some good games come out this year, man. Avowed,
Right now, if you're like, I want to get something new, but I don't know what to get. I promise you, getting Game Pass for a month, even right now, is like the best decision you'll make. Like, if you have a way to play games on Game Pass,
yeah.
there
If anything,
are
it's
there
like
are 4 games at least right now that would be worth.
Think of it this way: you do it for a month, right? That's 15. I forget what the low end model is for renting or for Game Pass, like the low model, or 20 for Ultimate, right?
Yeah,
Just think of it like this: for a month, you rent every game you can possibly play for a month. Cancel
it's
your
a really good
subscription
idea,
and
right?
just buy whatever you want in there. Just
Yeah.
think of it like, okay, I'm giving 15 to 20 bucks and I'm to basically getting like free reign to rent as many games as possible in a 30-day span.
It is a good idea right now. But
look at
also
how
just
they-
remember to cancel it when you're done with it.
Yeah.
Don't let it ride. That's the worst part about subscriptions.
Well, the nice thing about Microsoft is like if you just delete your card off the system, they'll be like, "Hey, your card's not renewed. You're going to lose your subscription," and you can just be like, "Okay." Like you can just let it happen. You can just very easily delete the payment system for it, and then just walk away. And there's nothing they can do about it. Or you just go buy a gift card at a supermarket.
That's the way you do it, is you do the gift card.
You just buy a gift card for 20 bucks or 1 month of Game Pass or whatever, and then just let it run out. And then be like, oh, but we need it. Too bad.
That sucks. On that note, we have got patrons to thank. As always, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames Podcast. Dude of the week was Lucas C. Thank you, Lucas. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Austenite, Zybernite, Skronami, Kuroi35, Hyper Viper 89, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy C. Thank you, dudes. We will catch you next time.
Later, dudes.